In this video we're going to talk about basic functions of the older style ESP Rainbird controllers. There's kind of three different generations of controllers. Each one of them does the same thing, however they all look a little bit different. So we're making a series of videos here that covers the functionality on the differences basically between those controllers. So there's really three main things that you're telling your sprinkler system to do. You're telling it what days you want it to water, you're telling it what time you want it to start, and then how long each of those zones are going to run for. So I like to say that this selector is selecting whatever we want to affect. So in this case I've turned it to Wednesday. Currently Wednesday is on. We use our buttons to affect what we've selected with our selector dial. So Wednesday is currently on. I could use the off button to turn it off and use the on button to turn it back on. That's really our only selection there, right? Either off or on. So each day of the week is represented at the dial here. You turn each one off or on individually. The next section here is your zone run times. Each of these numbers represents your different zones, right? So in our scenario here, we're on zone 1. It's currently set to run for 15 minutes. So we can use our up and down arrows to change that amount of time that we want it to run for, more or less. Or we can select a different zone, 3 now, same thing, more or less time on any given zone with those buttons. It's constantly learning all of this information, so you never have to tell it enter or OK. It's learning on the fly. So whatever you've affected, it's remembering all the time. So the next piece of the puzzle was our start times, right? In this controller, our start times are at the next position after our zone. So I'm switching over to program start times. Our first start time on this controller is set for 5 a.m. Now what this is saying is this is going to start once at 5 o'clock in the morning. Zone 1 will turn on and run for its allotted amount of time. It will automatically go on to zone 2, 3, 4, and the rest of it in your cycle there. You could start it a second time, a third time, or a fourth time. Now, that would run again, zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, zone 4 in sequential order for a second time or a third time. So you only need one start time in there to make everything water through one time. To manually start the sprinkler system, there's a couple of different ways to go about it. You can either start a whole program, so running each zone 1, 2, 3 sequentially, or an individual zone. So to run an entire program, you need to have your dial in the auto position. You need to select the program that you want to run, either A, B, C, or D. You'll see that changing in that top corner there as you use that program button. So once you've selected the program that you want to manually start. You push the manual start button, and now zone 1 is going to run for 15 minutes and continue on through the rest of the cycle. If you wanted to only water one individual station or turn on one individual station for whatever reason, you could simply select that given station. So zone 3, zone 3 in this scenario, and then manually start. Now it's going to run only zone 3 for 15 minutes. If you're ever wondering what the sprinkler timer thinks it's doing, always put that back to the auto position and it will display exactly what it thinks it's doing at this moment. So just like we said, zone 3 is now running for 15 minutes. So whenever you're done doing the programming and you've changed whatever your information is, it's important that your dial gets back into that auto point so that it can run automatically. If you ever didn't want the system to run for any reason, you could switch it over to off. It would stay off until you turn it back to auto. And then away it would run with its regularly scheduled program. Whatever you set in there, it will resume from whatever that point is forward.